And once again, this is why I love Erwin. Just in simple words. Because this plan was issued by Erwin, and I love him for this very reason. That's just how simple as it is. Because mentioned this when I was talking about it in Attack on Titan season 3 part 1, when Erwin basically just like took over the whole kingdom just like that. Like he literally planned out everything, and that was amazing in my opinion. Like, this is personally why I just love Erwin and just in general, because he always plans out these strategies and everything. Even though he got this backstory about him, which I'm not gonna spoil because again, I'm not a big fan of spoiling things for you guys. So I'm just most of the time trying to give as much minor spoilers as possible. So but there is one major spoiler that I want to talk about, which I'll talk about later in this video. But first, I want to go with Erwin's thing, because Erwin is just that good of a character in my eyes. He's definitely my second favorite character after Levi, because there's no one as badass as Levi. Let's be honest here. Like, come on, Levi is just straight up badass. But yeah, to be honest, Erwin is my second favorite character if I had to go with Attack on Titan, and this is the reason why, because it's just that good. And then Erwin, putting Erwin aside, I'm excited to see what Levi is about to do in the upcoming episodes, because they're building a hype. This hype around Levi versus Beast Titan, which I want to see, because they definitely indicated this when Erwin said, "Oh, you're gonna take on Beast Titan. You have to take on the Beast Titan." That's basically what it is. So I was like, "Oh, there we might get to see Leo versus Beast Titan," which I believe it should happen, because I've heard that it might happen. So I think so. It should happen. But yeah, definitely looking forward to that. Now, if there is any complaint about I have about this episode, is that the soundtrack didn't really hit me in this episode, because for most of the time I just didn't feel like the soundtrack was hitting me as much as it was hitting me on the first episode, because the first episode, the soundtrack at the end of the first episode was just like hype, straight up hype. But here it was like, okay, we got this, but there's no hype soundtrack in the background. It's just, oh, it's there to be there. Like, I just didn't feel the hype, because this is one of the things that an anime that really hypes things out. One is the silent moment in the anime that requires the silent treatment and everything. That's one thing that hypes an anime in my book. And the second thing I would say is the soundtrack, because a soundtrack, you know that whenever the certain soundtrack is played in the background, it's gonna be hype. So that's why I was kind of disappointed when there was no, like, just didn't feel like there was any kind of soundtrack, any kind of like good soundtrack playing in the background when I was watching Eren versus Reiner. Now that is just my opinion. I feel like there should have been some kind of better soundtrack that it felt, but it kind of felt silent in my eyes, because it just didn't feel Attack on Titan without that like a banging soundtrack in the background. That's just how I felt. Uh, now all that aside, now I'm gonna talk something about a major spoiler, alright? A very major spoiler in this episode, so if you guys have already caught up to this point, I'm just gonna put you guys aside. If you guys don't want a major spoiler, I'm just gonna say that. Spoiler warning before I go ahead. Now, if you guys have already watched this episode, you might know what happens at the end and how Reiner is attacked by this thunder spears and everything. Personally, I don't think so he's dead. That's just my opinion. I've watched too many anime to know that shit. So it's just that. That's me. If he's dead, he's dead. Okay, that's it. But personally, I don't think so he's dead, because that's just how anime works. Because he's not gonna be dead this easily. That's just simple. If he's dead, then most probably we might get a little bit of a background, like a backstory or something in the next episode, or something like that. But I don't think so he's dead in any way, shape, or form. Because if through what I see in the preview, I see Bertolot. I think so. That's how we pronounce his name, Bertolot. I don't know, but still, basically, yeah. I'm talking about the huge ass Titan. So, yeah. that's pretty much what I wanted to speak about. That's pretty much it. Now let me know what you think about this episode of Attack on Titan Season 3, Part 2, Episode 2, or in other words, Episode 52, 51. I think so. That's where it's around 51, 52, something like that. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. As always, peace.